Hello, class. Mr. Ward here, and I bet you didn't realize that this is the beard that's been hidden under that mask that you've seen me wearing the last few days. Shoved up in that mask and hidden from all sight. Anyway, today is lesson 1.1, and we're showing you how to do online lessons.
That's kind of a ridiculous start, but you get the idea of what these lessons will have. They'll have some comedy in them. They're going to have mistakes in them, and that's okay because it's okay to laugh. We should be laughing and having fun when we're doing these lessons, and it should also be real, and we make mistakes. I'm going to start right off. We're going to jump into lesson 1.1 in your book. So if you have not gotten out your book yet, you want to get out your chapter 1 book, should have it with you in your bag. It says, when is 3 not worth 3? When is a 3 not worth a 3? You might go, what are you talking about? Well, this is the number 3, and all of us would see it and think, well, that's worth 3. But when is a 3 not worth 3? Think about that for a second. Now, I would tell you that if you think about where that 3 is, that's a good start. So if we're talking about place value, when I say when is a 3 not worth 3, well, that 3 is actually only worth 3 ones when it's in this spot. If it's in the ones place, if it's by itself, then it's worth 3 ones. If that 3 is over here, all of a sudden it's worth 3 tens, and it would have a 0 after it, and we would call it 30. If it's over here in the hundreds place, we'd call it 300. Or 3,000 or 3 10,000s. We wouldn't say it like that. We'd say 3 tens is 30. So 3 10,000s would be 30,000 or 300,000. So it could be 3 or 30 or 300 or 3,000. It could be all sorts of things. That digit 3 has value depending upon where it is in the place value. So we're looking at ones, tens, hundreds. You'll see a comma, and then we're looking at the thousands, 10,000s, and 100,000s. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. This first group of 3 numbers is called a period, and it's actually any group of 3 numbers is called a period. This is the ones period, and then indicated by the comma is the thousands period. And while they look like they're going to be difficult to memorize, and you have these memorized, you should have these memorized already. If you have any trouble remember it's the name of the period ones and then tens and hundreds. The name of the period is thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. And if you're thinking, well, what's next? Yes, you're right. It would be millions, 10 millions, 100 millions. And then further beyond that, billions and so forth. So here's what I'd like you to do. Open your book. I've torn the pages out. You will not tear your pages out. You're going to open your book and you're going to turn to page 5. Page 5 in your book. So follow along, turn to page 5. This is lesson 1.1. The main idea in this is, or the essential question is, how can you describe the value of a digit? The value of it. Not what place is it in. We're going to have to look at that, but the value of it. So this 3, when it was here, is in the tens place, but that 3 has a value of 30. So we're going to be talking about the value of digits today based on their place. So we have these base 10 blocks. You've seen these physical versions of these. You've used them in past years. We'll use them some more this year, but it makes it more difficult when we have trouble sharing things. Not because you're not good at sharing. You guys are great at sharing, but because of germs and things. So we're going to do the best we can with this. So on page 1, I'm going to talk you through some of this. I want you to fill it in on your own book as you're watching and listening. Pause it as you need to. Go back and rewatch something if you need to. There'll be a few spots where I have you pause and work ahead and do some problems on your own. And there'll be some questions we skip. And then I'll introduce you to the homework that I want you to practice with, because remember, homework is practice at the end of the lesson. So let's jump in. Page 5. So the activity where it says unlock the problem, it says we're going to build some numbers through 10,000. So if we start over here, we have a single cube. So 1 cube represents 1. Then we have, if we put 10 cubes together, so if we were to take 10 of those cubes that we have and put those 10 together in a nice line, we would end up with a nice stack of 10, which I'm slowly building. Their pictures much nicer and faster. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And now we have this long represented by that. A little bit neater and easier to handle. See? Right? They bounce all over the place. So we have a 10. So we have a cube is 1. 10 ones can make a long, which would look like this. 10 longs, 10 of these longs, if we put them together, what would it make? And you can see it there. You're like, Mr. Ward, it's on my paper. I know. It's going to make a flat. So if you make that, which would be worth 100. So if we have 10, another 10 is 20, 3 10s, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 makes one of these, makes 100. So let's get those 10s out, and there's 100, which is represented by this. So we have a cube, a long, a flat, and then if we have 10 of these, so this is 100, and then if we had 200 and 300 and 400, and if we had a total of 900 and then another, and to make 10, we'd have this. We'd have this big cube. The camera's harder to see. We'd have this big, massive version, which would be worth not 100 or 200, 300 or 400. It'd be worth 10 hundreds, which is worth 1,000. So let's check this out. 1 cube is 1. 10 of them makes a long. That's 10 ones. This flat is made by having 10 tens. 100 is what that's worth. 10 tens is 100. Now, if we take 100 and we do that 10 times, then we have 1,000. So that would be 10 hundreds. Notice there's a little pattern here. 10 ones, 10 tens, 10 hundreds. If you take 10 of these thousands, you'd have 10,000. So that would be 10 thousands. And they have the question mark, meaning what shape would it be? And if you think about it, if you took 10 of these big cubes and we stacked them up, it would just be the same as this. It'd be a cube with 10 stacked. So it'd be bigger than this, right? It would be much bigger, but the shape would be a long. So cube, long, flat, cube, long. So this would be a long also. 10,000. We don't have any of those at the school. They'd be too big and bulky to ship probably. So a small cube represents 1. So how many small cubes make a long? Small cube is 1. How many small cubes make a long? It'd be 10 small cubes make a long. The long represents 10. How many longs make a flat? Now it doesn't say how many, but it's a blank. So how many longs make a flat? How many longs makes this flat? 10. And the flat represents, this flat represents 100. How many flats did it take to make a large cube? 10. Notice the pattern, base 10s. And the large cube represents 1,000. Okay? If you need to rewind any of that, go back to it. So they've got a couple things to think about here. Describe a pattern, and I love when I see students underlining important words. Describe a pattern in the shapes of these models. So the shapes, what pattern? Cube, long, flat, cube, long, and then we got those. So we said there is a pattern. It is cube, long, flat, and then that pattern starts again. It's a cube, and then it's a long, and then it's a flat. And then 10 of those makes another cube, bigger, and then a long, and then a flat. What will be the shape of the model for 10,000? The shape of the model, we already answered it. The shape of that model would be a long. 10,000 is a long. Okay? And describe a pattern you see in the sizes of the models. So we're describing a pattern, but this time in the size, not in what shape it is, but the size. So at first, I think some kids would just say, well, it gets bigger. And you're right, it does get bigger. But how many times bigger? How many times bigger? Now think about that. This long is bigger than the cube. How many times bigger? 10. And this flat is bigger than the long, but how many times bigger? 10. And this cube is bigger than this flat, but how many times bigger? 10. So how will the size of the model for 100,000? See, I told you there's going to be mistakes because my phone is ringing right in the middle of this. Life happens, guys. So how will the size of the model for 100,000, 100,000 compared to the size of the model for 10,000? So we were at 10,000. What if they went to 100,000? Right? Remember, 10,000 is 10 thousands. 100,000 is 10 10,000s. So how many times bigger? Describe the size of the model. It will be, if you're saying 10 times bigger, you are correct. It'll be 10 times bigger than the 10,000. Every time you move over, that number doesn't just get bigger, it gets 10 times bigger. And that's true when we're talking about this as well. Every time you move over, that 3 here is 3. Move it here, it's not just 30, that's 10 times bigger than 3. 300 is 10 times bigger than 30. If I have $300 and you have 3,000, you don't just have more, you have 10 times more money. So every time you move to the left, it gets 10 times bigger. Okay? Now, we're going to move to page 6. So turn your page, go to page 6. And it talks about the value of a digit. The value of a digit depends on its place value position. So they're talking about this place value chart and how a chart can help you see and record some of these values. Now, we're not going to use these all the time, but we want to be familiar with it because they're going to ask us a few questions down here. So they want us to write 894,613. So 894,613 into this chart. Now, they actually did this one for us. They're always going to start off by doing a lot for us, and they start requiring us to do more. So they've put part of it here, but we actually need to write these digits in these places. So this is 894,000. Well, look, here's the thousands period. So it was 800,000. So we're going to put 894,613. Now, if you wanted to fill it in from here and go 3, 1, 6, 4, 9, 8, you can, but we're going to be reading it from the left to the right. Okay, so 894,613. Okay, and each of those digits has value. This, for example, the 6 has a value of 600 because it's a 6 in the hundreds place. If I ask you what this 1 is worth, it's 1 in the tens place, so it's 110, 10. This 3, oh, he's just worth 3. Sorry, 3. This 9 is worth 90,000, and think about why. It's in the 10,000s place. 9 tens is 90. 9 10,000s is 90,000. So it's worth 90,000. Okay? The value of this 9 in the 10,000s place is 90,000, and it's shown right there. And again, go back and rewind this if you need to. Now they want us to compare the values of these underlined digits. So they've given us two numbers. They both have a 3. I'm going to mark that. There's a 3 there and a 3 there. So they both have a 3 like we started this whole lesson with, but they're not in the same place. They're not worth the same thing. So the first 3 is in 2,304. So let's write that number in this chart. So let's show that in this chart. So we're going to write 2,304. Well, 2 is in the thousands place. So 2,000. They don't have a comma, but I'd put a comma there. 300. There's 0 tens, 4 1. So we have 2,304. And that 3 is 3 what? 300. The other number we had to look at up here, and again, notice I'm using two hands often. I'm pointing to things and looking at where I'm marking stuff. So that 3 was 300. This is a 3 also in this number, but that's in a different place value spot. So we're going to take this number. It's also written here for us. We're going to put it down in this chart. We're going to write 16,135. So here's the ones. I'm going to put my comma in right now. The comma goes between the thousands and ones, period. That comma helps us find places. That's why they're important. So I'm going to write 16,000, say 1,000 when you get to the comma, 135. And they're asking us about that 3. So there's that 3. What's it worth? It's 3 tens. Now, if you put tens, it would be wrong because tens is the place it's in. The value of the digit 3 is 3 tens, which is 30. It'd be like this. It'd be 3 tens, 3 of these, which is what they have in that picture there. So the 3s are not the same. And let's go back to the question. They want us to compare the values. So the 3 that was in this number is 300, and the 3 in this one is 30. And let's look at those two numbers. This is clearly bigger. How many times bigger? Remember, it's moved over one spot. So the value of the 3 in 2,304 is not just bigger, it is 10 times. Again, there's that number, 10 times the value of this 3. It's not just bigger, it's 10 times bigger. Now, the last page we're going to work on, you might be thinking, the last page, we've been going too far. Or maybe you're tired already, but the last page we're going to work on, we're going to go to page 7. So turn to page 7, and on this one, I'm going to have you do a few of these on your own. So we're going to try some together, and then you're just going to do a couple on your own, and then you've got some I want you to practice by yourself, okay? So we're going to complete this table below. So check out the table. In this case, they've given us some information. You know what? For this one, I apologize. We're not going to do this table. We're going to leave this one, so you can skip this table. See, I told you it was real stuff. We make mistakes. Skip the table for now. We're going to jump into here, and I want you to circle and underline keywords. Find the value of the underlined digit. So this is you can use this table to help you, by the way. That is a 7. It's underlined, but it's not worth 7 because it's not in the ones place. It is in the ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. That is 700,000. Now, if I read this number, it's 703,890, but the 7 is in the 100,000 spot, so it's 700,000. That's the value of that 7. Again, you're just doing these with me right now, so just do them with me. In this case, this is a 4 that's underlined, and it's in what place? Hopefully you're saying the tens place. So what is 4 tens? None of the other digits in the problem matter, not for this question, sorry, other digits, just that little sucker right there. And it is 4 in the tens place. It is worth 4 tens, which is 40. Okay? This 8 is the only one that matters because it's underlined. It is an 8 in the 10,000 spot. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. It is worth 8 10,000s. 8 tens is 80. So it is 80,000. And if we said this number, we would say that 182,000. But if you pull out the 2 and if you only look at the 8, it's 80,000. If we only look at this 5, that's a 5 in the thousands place. Its value is 5,000. So you're just pulling that digit and that value of that digit out. 80,000 gets pulled out. 40 gets pulled out. 700,000. Now the last two we're doing as an example together are 6 and 7. So compare the values of the underlined digit. So this 2 is 2,000. This 2 is 200. The value of the 2 in 2,000 is blank times the value of the 2 in 200. I like to fill those in first. The value of the 2 in 2,000 is blank times the value of the 2 in 200. So 2,000, if you have $2,000 and I have 200, first of all, you're rich by a fourth grader standards, right? If you have $2,000 and I have 200, you don't just have more, you have 10 times more. It's 10 times the value. In this case, we have 40 and 400, and they're saying the value of the 4 in, now, I think some kids would put the 40 here because I put the first one first. But I put this first because it was bigger. It had a bigger value. So which of these two has the bigger value, the 4 and 40 or the 4 and 400? Hopefully you're thinking to yourself the 400. So put the 400. The value of 4 in 400 is blank times the value of 4 in 40. How many times bigger is 400 than 40? Well, it's 10 times bigger. Okay? Now, using what we did and looking back at these problems, I want you to stop the video and I want you to try these 4 on your own. And then once you're done with them, I want you to press play and see how you did because I'm going to do them in just a moment. So stop, try these 4, doing the same thing we did up here, and then play the video to check to see how you did. And if you did fine, fantastic. If you're thinking, I'm not ready to do these on my own, then don't stop the video. Just do them with me as I practice, okay? So if you think you're good on it, stop it and try them on your own. Now, for those who have started the video again or you're playing along with me, here's how you should do this. The value Some of you didn't underline or circle that. Circle the keywords. The value of the underlined digit. That is 3 in the 10,000 spot. 3 10,000s is 30,000 if we pulled that out. If we pulled this 3 out here, it's worth 3,000. This 2 is 2. That's it. It's 2 ones. And this 9 is 9, but it's in the 100,000s. So it's worth 900,000. 900,000. Now I'm going to tell you, if you did those perfectly, you're going to have no problem with the ones I'm going to give you to practice for homework. So if you struggled with those, then maybe you just take your time. Like, do the best you can on homework. Homework is practice. Homework equals practice. It's not about being perfect. It's about giving what? You should be saying effort. It's about giving effort. You give your best effort. And remember, effort on homework means you try it. If you get confused, you look back onto these pages to see how we did it in class and use these as an example. Raise your hand and ask a question. We're watching this in class. You can raise your hand and ask me. And then you just do your best and you try them. So here's the homework. I want you, and you're going to do it now, and then you'll follow a link to a Google form to put your answers in. So your homework is this. This is page 9. So homework is page 9. Page 9. And you're going to do 2 through 12 even. So go to page 9. You can pause if you need to. Go to page 9. Go to 2 through 12 even. So you're doing 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. That's 6 questions, right? And the directions are exactly what you were just doing. Find the value of the underlined digit. Tell me what that 7's worth. Tell me what this 9 is worth. Not what place is it in. What's its value? What is it worth? What's this 5 worth? And what's the 6 worth? And if you get confused, go back to the ones we just did and see how we did them. The directions are the same. This one again. Now remember, we put the more valuable of the numbers because you're going to compare them. We put the more value, not not which of these two whole things is bigger, but the number we're looking at, the digit we're looking at. So this is the 2 in this number 2,000 and the 2 in this number 200. So put the one of those two that is bigger first, and then put the other one second, and tell me how many times bigger. And then there's a question in number 12. So that's your first video. If this was Monday, you would click this video. You would watch a video, not this one, but you'd click the video I send to you. You'd watch it along just like you just did, and then you would do the homework. And in the afternoon, I'd be available for like office hours where you can pop in and ask questions about it. But you're going to do these questions. And then once you do them on here, you're going to click the link to put your answers that you have on your paper into the Google form, and you'll submit that to me. All right? That's it. Great job, guys.